I've just flown in this simulator. It's incredibly realistic. Obviously, I can say that having flown aeroplanes. Haven't flown a Spitfire, but it feels as though, yes, this is what it must be to take off from the shores of Britain and fly over Nazi Germany. And even when I came in for a crash landing, or an emergency landing, I should say, I was sort of bracing myself, thinking I'm going to smash into a farmhouse here or hit a hedge. And I was quite surprised I managed to bring it down safely. How can you make it so realistic?
It's two parts, really. First part being attention to detail. 90% of simulation is what you see rather than what you feel. So it's just getting what you actually see right, whether that's tying in what's happening with the fuselage and the visual system, to actually having a visually correct cockpit, needles that operate in the same way. It's little details that really add up to a big picture. The Spitfire was designed as an interceptor. She was supposed to get up there, intercept, do the business, come back down, refuel, rearm, get back up there.
The pilots would sit around the airfields, wouldn't they, playing cards, drinking tea, coffee, waiting for the siren to go off to indicate that the German bombers were coming over. I guess a lot of them didn't make it back for reasons of not just getting shot down or crash landing, but for if you misjudge your fuel, you're in the English Channel.
Yeah, you go swimming. Yeah.
When I was sat in the cockpit, and it's a real cockpit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all.
50% of it flew in the war. 40% were parts that were made for modern day restorations, but were slightly flawed, misdrilled or whatever, couldn't be used in an airworthy airframe.
You get this thing when they're going to crash land that, as long as they hold on tight and brace and pull the stick back, they might get away with this. But when you're in that cramped cockpit, it's so tiny and it's so metal.
The guys were going up with their uniform, a warm thermal layer on, whether it be a jumper or whatever, the flying jacket, and then a life jacket on top of that, and the parachute. They were strapped into the parachute. So things get very cramped very, very quickly. But it was not the impact that you needed to worry about. It was the way the fuel system's arranged. You've got your fuel tanks just behind the instrument panel, and various other flammable liquids lying around. So like I said, you've got alcohol in your compass, you've got de-icer fluid in a little tank on the right hand side of the pilot's seat.
I mean, they were brave young men. Were there any female pilots?
ATA pilots, yeah, they used to deliver them.
They used to deliver them, didn't they? Yeah. They didn't go on the actual active service part.
No. No. So you had the likes of Mary Ellis and Joy Lofthouse. They both had really good connections with Boultbee Academy. Well, a quick story. Matt, the owner of Boultbee, he went up with Mary Ellis.
Boultbee being
the training academy where the Spitfires fly from. So he took Mary Ellis up for her 100th birthday a couple of years ago. So he got airborne and flew around. Now, the way Matt tells it is that he'd sort of temporarily lost his position, didn't know where he was. So while he was looking at the map, he handed over control to Mary. So he said, "Are you happy to take it, Mary?" She said, "Yeah, I'm happy." She said, I'll take it over here, wherever she was. I mean, she was so adept with her flying. So essentially, yeah, she said, "Right, I'll fly over to Southsea, bring her around, bring her into Goodwood, and then I'll give you back control just as we go into the circuit, okay?" I said, "Yeah, fine." So she flew around, got to Goodwood, handed back control. Matt said he'd never seen a pilot like it. Absolutely fantastic.
At 100 years old,
100 years old,
she was still on the ball.
She was
top gun stuff.
Yeah.
My gosh. It's hard for us to appreciate the sacrifice these young people made, not just the British, the Germans as well, getting in these tiny but extremely powerful craft with limited levels of proficiency not just having to cope with the weather, right, but also you might be shot at, or you might have to shoot someone down. When I got in that simulator, my mind is buzzing. It's just a simulator. I can't crash even if I tried to. I mean, I can simulate a crash. I'm not going to get hurt. My mind is still thinking of 1,000,000 things, getting it right, trying to recall, keeping the plane level, and all these kind of pilot skills. They didn't just have to get this thing off the ground safely, then negotiate this weather. They're actually stand a chance of getting shot out of the sky.
Well, part of it was down to the design. R.J. Mitchell designed the Spitfire to be very easy to fly. She's an absolute pig to get on the ground and an absolute pig to get off the ground. But once you get her airborne, she is probably one of the most easy aeroplanes to fly.
From a commercial perspective, or from the public's perspective, do they have access to...
Oh yeah, it's open to the public. It's £200 for 30 minutes, which does make a lot of people sort of swallow hard. But what you've got to remember is to fly in the real thing, you're looking around £3,000 for half an hour, 20 minutes airborne. With the simulator, it's a real Spitfire, it's a real Spitfire fuselage, but you're flying in a synthetic environment. But you get to fly that on your own. Everything you do in there, apart, it's you.